Good morning. This is Norma Cowie welcoming you once more to my YouTube channel. I am live streaming and I'm also live streaming onto my Facebook professional page, Norma Cowie, Psychic Life Consultant. Now, as usual, I spend some time thinking about what am I going to talk about on Sunday? What's my thought going to be for Sunday? And yesterday I was like that. I was sitting thinking, what topic am I going to talk about? Because so many float through my mind during the week. And this thought dropped into mind about perseverance, something I don't think about very often. But how do we persevere? So, of course, I go to the dictionary. I've got a couple that I usually check on. And one said, persevere, to persist in anything, undertaking, maintain a purpose in spite of difficulty, obstacles, or discouragement, and continue steadfastly. And then I went to one I go to quite often, and it said, continue in a course of action, even in the face of difficulties or with little or no, what was the conclusion, I think, of success. People have persevered through all sorts of hardships. I think I mentioned it in another Wednesday talk I did, but this is really about coming to recognize that we as a human race have a tremendous amount of persevering. I know some of this isolation because we're back in lockdown again, and again over a special holiday, Christian holiday for people, that we have to persevere. And we have to not work within the system that we are given to work with, to persevere with our beliefs, our attitudes, and especially our decision of how we want to move forward. I have read that one of the concepts in this isolational element that's going on is that we may not be able to go into province. And in the US, it would be changing from different states. And I would find that most difficult because I usually once a year go back to Saskatchewan to visit a health clinic that I visit. So that would impact me greatly. And as I'm in the sort of early makings of making my plan of travel. Now, I'm a traveler. I have spent a lot of my life traveling places, going places and doing things. And it is very, what can you say, distressful at times for me not to be able to get in my car and just go. And you know, winter has been here, the virus has been here, although I must say that I'm basically in an area that's pretty free. Yes, there are some cases, but not as many as other places. Excuse me. So how do we persevere? I think it has a little bit to do with stubbornness, actually. And when I think about persevering, and I know I've had to persevere through many different things at different times. And I think there's, you know, people talk about having a backbone, having a sense of direction, having a sense of where you're going and what you're doing. But if you don't have that little bit of stubbornness, if you don't have that stubbornness to persevere through whatever the situation is, then the tendency is for you to capitulate. Now, there are some right now, I was just reading actually this morning about farmers in India and in France and in Africa and in other countries protesting what is happening to their agricultural way of life, where they create really good, healthy food and they work with the land and they have their own seeds that they can use year after year because they know how to keep the seeds and to replant them. And I was thinking of how the perseverance of the farmers right now, they are the most vocal that is going on around the world. And I even was reading this morning about how Croatia which used to be part of Yugoslavia. They also, they're not only the farmers, but the fishing is being undertaken by big tech. So, you know, people have to persevere because the way of life that people have revered, that they like, that supplies them with an income, that supplies them with a lifestyle, that provides them, most importantly, with really good food that supports our system and has for eons of time, is being eaten away bit by bit by bit. So that perseverance, that to persevere through difficulty, has to have a backbone, and a backbone sometimes of a little bit of stubbornness. Now, the dictionary didn't say that, but as I look into where I have had to persevere at different times in my life, it's kind of like you just take a big breath and say, okay, we're going ahead with this, or we're going to stand, this is the ground we stand on. This is where we go. Now, many, many years ago, when I first started as a psychic, and nobody was on radio or TV, nobody was being heard. And then there was a TV show that was created that I was fortunate enough to be on. And I have spoken about this. And there were several of us that really decided, because we were on the show and we were a little, I was quite young actually, that there were three women. Two of them were reverends. I was not a reverend at that time. I am now a reverend of metaphysics. Actually, I should say, we decided within ourselves that we would show that being a psychic was a natural thing. And I have talked about this often, how we are born with our psychic abilities within it. And we had to persevere through many interviews with people that tried to make out that we were weird or different. And of course, I was a young mother and dressed like I probably do now, and regularly. And they were expecting to find somebody that was going to come in, you know, with the old idea of scarves and flowing and things like that. Anyway, I'm getting beside the point here, is that we had to persevere. We had to persevere to overcome prejudice. We had to persevere to overcome ignorance. We had to persevere to overcome a perception that really wasn't based on anything but fear. So that leads us back to fear. How do we persevere beyond the fearfulness? How do we persevere beyond the way? And that led me in talking and realizing that there has to be this degree of commitment that you have in the end result that you want. For myself, it was about educating. It was having people become aware of how they could change their lives and make lives more doable, you might say, happier in particular. I wanted people to be happy. I wanted people to understand how they could create in an easier way in harmony with everything. And so we are faced in lots of ways right now with lots of changes going on. Now, I've experienced nothing like we're going through in this last year. Nothing that before that would have me come into an understanding of this. And so we need to persevere. And I don't think the younger people, because I'm in the above 70 age group, know exactly how that works, because they've often had a lot of things handed to them. And that's one thing they're going to need to learn, is how to persevere through difficulties, how to accept things that aren't exactly the way they like them or want them, but they can work with that. And they will find themselves stronger as they encounter more things that are different. Because sometimes one has to stand up and say enough, or to say that is not how it's going to be. Otherwise, we just roll along and get rolled over by, I said the other day, it feels like there's a train coming down the tracks, and how do you stop it? And then after saying that a few times, I realized the way you stop a train coming down the tracks is you have to get it off the tracks. And that's what people are doing. People are protesting, but we don't hear too much about that. We hear a little bit about it. But if you go in other places, you can read about how they are really the people closest to the earth, the people that know how important good food is, the people that know eating chemicals is not the best, but real nutrition is. And they're the ones that are protesting on our behalf. They're persevering. They're doing what they feel is necessary to get the word out. And so I want you to just think about your life and think about, where are you persevering? I know I'm persevering on the sense of isolation, of having friends that I can't visit, having friends that I can't hug, having friends, and right now we can't even go out. I get up in the morning, think, oh, I'd like to go out for breakfast. Oh, I can't. The restaurants are closed. Can't eat inside the restaurant. And taking out a breakfast, I don't think is very nice. So it's like little things like that where we have to persevere in the sense of wanting to be able to move through the difficult time periods. So I really want you to think about that. How do you do that? Do you get up a little bit stubborn, or do you capitulate? Do you state what you think, or do you just keep your mouth shut? All those things that go on just to show that perseverance. And I think that's why that word was given to me, because that's what it was. It's not a word I think about. To persevere. Perseverance. Something that we all have within us. Are we utilizing it? So I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking, and thank you for your comments. And I trust you will have a persevering week where you will be able to move through everything with determination, awareness, and understanding that you are loved. Thank you.